exist. Arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Morning. Hey, I got to start it off with a confession. Actually, two confessions this morning. Yeah, sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I've heard enough confessions.
I'm
I'm not even a priest. I'm not even one of those guys in a booth.
Everybody's confessing. It's a time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let's lay it out on the table.
All right. Number one, I broke down. I did it. Yep. I put on that dang mask. I'm sorry, folks, but there wasn't any way around it.
You were breathing your own exhaust.
You see, this time of year in the Midwest, there are two incredible small particles that permeate the fruited plain, okay? And cause mankind unspeakable misery. One is pollen, and the other, if you've ever lived in an area where there are cottonwood trees, and in our area there are several. Well, let's just say it's 90 degrees out, and with the cottonwood, it looks like it's snowing.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
It does.
So I get outside, I grab the mower, and I go out there, and about 5 minutes into mowing, and I was done. I mean, I was coughing and I was dying. What am I supposed to do? That's right. I put on the dang mask. And it helped. And like COVID, it did stop. Well, it didn't stop all of the particles, but enough so I could finish the lawn, right? So please, I beg your forgiveness. And folks, there's no shot that will help here. That kind of sounded like COVID too, doesn't it? I talked to a gentleman the other day.
Only one?
About COVID and about the vaccine. And what do you think about all this? He says, well, my wife and I both have had the vax.
Both got the shot.
Yep.
The jab.
Yep. And wait a minute. Prior to that, they both had COVID. And I'm going, you had COVID and you got the shot anyway? Oh, yeah. I said, why is that? He said, well, just getting COVID doesn't protect you. And if it does, it doesn't protect you that long. Maybe 2 or 3 months. I'm going, He wasn't a doctor, by the way, nor was his wife. And I said, well, what about the vax? He said, oh, the vax lasts forever. Does that tell you anything, folks? Even though they've had COVID and they likely have part of that herd immunity, herd immunity.
Herd immunity.
That's easy for me to say. Even though they have that, they took the shot. Again, folks, we have a one-sided conversation. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Believe me, trust me. I'm a politician, trust me. And that's exactly what we're doing. But these are doctors. Yeah. The doctors report to who? The politicians.
Well, these weren't doctors you were talking to, right?
No. I'm talking about doctors in general in the one-sided conversation.
One problem with that is I never heard any information or misinformation that said that the shot lasts forever. As a matter of fact, they're giving it 6 to 8 months and you got to get a booster.
We didn't get that far into the conversation because he was pretty locked in to he's safe.
Well, yeah, I get that. And it's really sad how misinformed people are.
Yep.
And we're not even sure that we're that well informed, but I know the kind of research we've been doing.
Fauci is kind of having to backstep a little bit these days, isn't he?
It seems like seems like it. Yeah. Rand Paul is.
Fauci is expendable, by the way, folks.
Holding his feet to the fire a little bit.
They'll have somebody right in the line behind him. They'll carry the company line.
Well, you pay them enough, they'll say anything.
Apparently.
He's the highest paid government official.
Makes what, $500,000 a year, something like that?
Yeah, a little over, yes. That's just what we know about.
Second confession. And I'm going to take the hit on this. That's why I'm confessing. We had Hannah Peterson. Hannah Peterson is a parent in Florida. And by the way, it's about 90 degrees down there as well. I don't know where they have cottonwood, but it's 90 degrees down there. And Hannah's 8-year-old son is in a government-run school. And they were out doing exercises, I think running laps or something for PE. And he couldn't breathe. He couldn't get oxygen. Oh, yeah. They forced all the kids to wear masks. Outdoors, doing exercise, they forced them to wear a mask. So he put his mask down so he could breathe oxygen, not his own carbon dioxide.
Kind of
oxygen.
Important, yeah.
We think it is, but that's just an opinion. Actually, when you're born with a mask, but the doctors never tell you about that. They never tell you about. They always take the mask off because they never, ever knew what use would be. But now they know. Right? For COVID and other diseases. So anyway, the teacher come over and yelled at him for not wearing the mask, scolded him for not wearing the mask. Kid's trying to catch his breath, okay? So what does she do?
I thought it was over a bullhorn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably in front, but likely, yeah. It could be that. I didn't get all the details, and we would have gotten all the details, but no, I got to be BJ, and I got to stop the interview. And I'll tell you why in a moment. So the teacher made the child put the mask back on and then sent him back inside. No. Didn't send him back inside. Made the student run extra laps with the mask on.
Yeah.
That's very unsettling. Very unsettling. Again, Hannah Peterson is the mother, and I talked with her, and she and her husband were both going to be on the show this Saturday, and I like that. That's a family thing. I really, really like the fact that the mother and the father, dads, you need to get more involved here. But I'm busy working. Yeah. So you can pay all them taxes to pay the schools, right? So they can harass your child. I get it.
Pay the schools to tell you can't come in and see your child in the place you're paying for.
And God help you if you're white, because they're going to tell stories about white folk. Crackers. Amazing. So anyway, the mother gets really upset with this and is getting with a group of other people and doing grassroots, which we're going to be doing later on today. Grassroots in terms of influencing their public servants. These aren't your boss, they're public servants, and they need to know that. And I think that's going to happen in Florida. We were at a high school here in Ohio.
Yep.
With 100 to 200. Didn't have time to count them, but somewhere between 100 and 200 good folks are out there.
Parents. Yeah. With their children.
And some students before a school board meeting. Mm-hmm. And they were going to greet the school board as they walked in the door. Guess what? The school board, from what I understand, members snuck in the back door.
They did. Yeah, we didn't know if they were there or not.
Yeah.
But when we found out they were there, they heard us.
Yeah. What do you mean they heard? What do you mean, Mr. Anderson, they heard you?
Oh, they heard us. Well, they heard some of the chanting. No more mask. No more mask. And we were also standing up for a teacher that was unjustly fired.
Yes.
And but after the meeting got started, and we found out they were all inside. The cars circled Jericho style the building, circling the building, horns a blaring.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And then I imagine Florida might be doing the same thing. I'm going to connect up the leader of this group here in Columbus with Hannah Peterson. So Hannah and I had agreed to have the family on, the father and her, and maybe some of their children. And I get a notice late this week that, well, the husband can't make it. And I find out that the daughter is in a championship game for volleyball.
I thought it was soccer.
I think it's volleyball.
Oh,
She's in a championship game. Could be in picky, Mr. Anderson. You sound like BJ.
What is it?
Influence. Behind every rainbow.
Oh, the Silk team. What are they called?
I don't know.
Oh,
Smooth
the two ladies that do the
Diamond and Silk.
Diamond and there Silk. It is, Diamond and Silk. We got a Diamond coming up later.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, John Diamond. Good.
But anyway, yeah, playing that role with you this morning.
So I called her back up and I said, your husband can't make it because he has to take your daughter to a championship game. And yes, indeed. And I said, you need to be there too. She said, well, yeah, I get that, but we have the interview scheduled. I said, no longer. You're going to that match, and I apologize for interrupting or even causing any kind of stress over it. So hopefully we're going to get her back on. We're going to get her on next week.
That's good.
But I apologize for not having her on this week. And the folks we've been having on, this COVID thing.
Would you like me to play a short clip of the newscast of what she was doing,
absolutely,
since you got everybody's curiosity up?
Please do.
All right.
Welcome back to The Count, where we're counting down the major stories of the week. I'm Eric Bowling. We're moving on to story number 8. CDC tyranny. A group of parents in Florida are pushing to end mask mandates in schools. The movement started after one mom in Polk County witnessed her young son and his classmates were forced to wear masks outside during gym class, outside in the oppressive Florida heat while visiting her child's school. Now the parents of that young boy, Hannah Peterson and Sean Peterson, join us along with Jimmy Nelson, a board member, County Citizens Defending Freedom, an organization that's backing the movement. Welcome to the program, everybody. Let me start with you, Hannah. Young Sean. Sean's 8 years old. Tell me what you saw.
Yes, I went up to his school and I saw him and a bunch of other students outside during PE running around in 90-degree weather with their faces covered.
Yeah. And Sean, Dad Sean, how does that make you feel when you think of your second or third grade child and they're having to wear a mask in that heat? Makes you mad, doesn't it?
It's abusive. It's just abusive. I mean, for you to be forced to do anything like that, to suppress your breathing, especially during the heat, and doing activities during PE is just abusive.
And Hannah, what did you do when you saw it? I mean, how, did you react? Did you grab your son? Did you pull Sean out?
No, I went home and had a conversation with him and asked him about it, and he went on to tell me that there's been times when he was running and couldn't breathe, so he pulled his mask down so he could catch his breath, and he was yelled at across the field from the PE coach over a bullhorn megaphone and told to put his mask back up. And when he didn't do that, he was forced to run more laps.
Yeah, and Dad, there's a Facebook movement with other like-minded parents, I guess, or people. 9,600 people are a part of that, members. Unmask Our Children rally. It drew hundreds of local parents and children. What do you want to say to other parents out there who may be in a similar situation with their children being forced to wear masks?
I want to say get involved. You know, we've been out of school for this entire year, and these are our kids, and we have a right to know what's going on behind those doors. And we need to be awake to that and be involved and demand that we take charge of what our children wear and what they're being taught.
Stop being complacent.
Yeah. Let me bring, if I may, Jimmy Nelson, the school board member. Tell us what are you going to do about it, sir?
I'm not a school board member Eric, I'm a board member of County Citizens Defending Freedom, and what we're going to do about it is help the Peterson and those other families fight against the school board to get this corrected.
Excellent. Listen, so I apologize. I apologize for naming you, titling you, but go ahead, tell us what's the move to get the school board to listen to you guys?
So the parents, along with the Petersons and CCDF, have mobilized to address the school board officials directly. We've now participated in the last couple of meetings in addition to having the rally that you mentioned, and we will be bringing suit against the school board very, very shortly. We've already delivered a letter of command to them that they ignored, essentially. And so we will be following that up with by seeking injunction from the courts.
Now you have about half a minute or so, Hannah and or Sean. CDC said you don't have to wear the mask anymore. You don't have to wear it anymore. Why aren't schools getting involved? Why aren't they listening?
Well, this school board in particular we just come to find out, has made a deal with a union here in Polk County that if children if the mandate is lifted by the school board, then teachers can walk off the job and continue to get paid. So the school board is listening to the union and not doing what's best for the children.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Hannah Peterson, Sean Peterson, Jimmy Nelson. Hey, parents out there watching right now.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Back. Hopefully we're going to be speaking with John Diamond here shortly. And Hannah Peterson, who you saw on that, is going to be joining us next week, probably at the first hour, 10:15, and really looking forward to that. I love folks. I'm a little loud, am I not? I love folks that
okay.
I love the idea, first of all, locally, of engaging the culture. Stop sitting back and look at what the masks are not the worst thing that the schools are doing to your children. I attended school board meetings for 10 years. Let me tell you what I learned in 10 years, what schools teach. First of all, they teach life has no meaning. That's key. Life has no meaning. You can mute yourself, Mr. Anderson. You're doing that heavy breathing again. And man, not God, is the measure of all things. Man, not God, is the measure of all things. Morals are relative. You understand what's happening here? Morals are relatives. So where do you go? I mean, you're born with an app. You need some kind of leadership. You need some kind of authority. So where do you go? Yeah, that's right. The schools become the authority. The state is your daddy. In the state, your daddy now, they're telling you about your health care. They're telling you have to have a shot. They're telling you have to wear a mask. They're telling you have to keep distance. What next? Oh, and there will be a next. There will be a next. And the mask isn't going away. That's the mask and testing. That's a $200 billion industry. $200 billion industry.
Developed overnight.
Yep. And it ain't going away overnight. Once they're in there, it's like when the government takes power and freedom away from you. Don't look for them to be at your door next week to give it back to you. They're likely going to be asking for more. So please understand that. Life has no meaning. Morals are relative. Man, not God, is the measure of all things. And the state is your daddy.
One of the things in that news report, if people were listening, the school board made a deal with the union, teachers union. If you don't realize how powerful the teachers union is and how it controls.
You're an ex-teacher, right, Mr. Anderson?
I am, and also a former union president of our local union. And when I went in for union training, my eyes got wide open about what teachers don't know about their own union. And it's a shame because they don't know what's going on. They just agree with it. Two reasons that I can think of. One is, well, it protects their benefits and their salaries and their jobs. And two, they don't have time to deal with it because they're working really hard taking care of their kids and their students. And so they trust the union with a blindfold. Unfortunately, the teachers union is a communist union.
And by the way, the schools are not going to give your children up that easily either.
No. You know what? I mean, and we're hearing this from parents even more now, that they're not letting parents in the buildings.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if you want to go visit used to be, I mean, when I was teaching, parents would make an appointment, come in, and they could sit in your classroom and visit and see what's going on. And they won't let you do that anymore. But that's a very important thing, is to be able to let them know that you're there and you're watching over your kid.
Those property taxes that you pay in the government-run schools. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe it's sales tax in your area. What we understand here is property taxes in Ohio. John keeps floating in and out. I don't know whether he's having problems getting in or not.
I saw that flickering.
Yeah, and number 7, many teachers are part of the indoctrination process. Yes, sir. Absolutely. But that doesn't excuse you parents from responsibility at all. They're your children after all, right? And yeah, it's a major inconvenience to, boy, you know what? I bet there's a lot of people out there that are saying, you know what? I wish I had homeschooled. My children don't have my moral values. Hey, John will be right with you. They don't have my moral values.
There he is.
They're actually working against what I'm trying to do. Where did that come from? Hey, we're going to bring John Diamond on. Hey, John, welcome to Last Call, brother.
Here he is.
Can't hear him.
Now it's got to be on his end. I don't know what.
John, are you muted on your end or?
Got all these old guys doing technology. We
had this problem last week. On the board, try to put that one up.
What up?
That one right there. Put that up. See if that
That's
helps.
Skype.
Is it?
That's this Skype. Yeah,
Okay.
that's not even related.
This is crazy, insane. Any of the other buttons that might work?
I'm desperately looking for something, but
I'm gonna take him out of the stream. You add him to the stream and see if that makes a difference. John, say something. See if we can. Nope, can't hear you. Cannot hear you. This isn't good. Old guys in technology. You're right, number 7. Old guys in technology.
Oh, you got a chat line going?
Yeah.
Oh, this is, I don't know.
You keep working on that. Anyway, we're talking about government-run schools.
I heard him a bit. He did something right for a second.
This is really COVID, and our current president are offering us. Yeah,
there he is.
There we go.
Give
John.
me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I can't hear you. I plugged another microphone in. Give me 1 second. I'm going to run down and grab my headphones.
All right, John. We have opportunities before us now, folks. And I apologize for the technical problems. We have an opportunity before us that we've never had. Well, I think we had early on in the beginning of this nation, the same type of situation. I'm hoping it doesn't take a physical conflict, but we need to prepare ourselves because the enemy is out there and they are pounding away at our liberties and freedoms. Especially, they're pounding away at their own liberties and freedoms and don't recognize that, okay? That they're fools. And they'll be the first to go once the liberties and freedoms are established, once they've been taken away. But we need to recognize this is an opportunity. Today we're going to be out and we're going to be talking to the public, and we're going to try to find those folks that see, and there's an advantage now because of COVID, because of the president, because of the liberal, socialist, communist drive that's going on right now. The only difference between America and other nations is liberty and freedoms. If we don't have liberties and we don't have freedoms, then you're not in America. It just does not exist.
Look at that fancy mic he has.
Yeah. Whoa, my goodness.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you perfect. Everything sounds great.
Let's quit where we're ahead. Bye. Hey, Dr. John Diamond, we met decades ago in Columbus, Ohio, and we were both striving to fix a problem in America, which was righteousness. We both saw, among with others, not just you and I, but among others, we're kind of on the bleeding edge. And at that point in time, there wasn't a whole lot of people listening to us, especially the church, right?
That's right.
And but we continued. And now I see a huge difference. Not as big as it needs to be so far, but I see things changing rapidly where people are more going, okay, wait a minute, maybe I'll stop and speak with BJ, or maybe I'll stop and speak with John Diamond or Coach Dave Daubenmire. Maybe I ought to listen here. And we need to take advantage of that. And John, you're a good educator, brother. You're a great educator. You're well-rounded, well-reasoned, especially in the Constitution. We'll probably talk a little bit about that this morning as well. But do you see what I'm seeing? Do you see the change coming? More people are becoming more interested.
Yeah, without a doubt. And me and Coach Dave were on Alan Keyes' show down in Pigeon Forge here a couple weeks ago. And all three of us were involved in this clear back in 2003 when we stood with George Roy Moore when they were taking his 10 Commandments out. And Coach said, you know what, we've been doing this for 15 years and now it finally feels like we have an audience. So I wrote my book, Fighting the Next American Revolution, in 2006, trying to wake the church up, especially the church. As a theologian, I was trying to reach pastors, trying to warn them and trying to prevent what we have today. And it was ignored and ignored and ignored. And now, I wrote in the book, I said, America is no longer America. America is now an atheistic, communistic police state wrapped in the American flag as a facade. And everybody just poo-pooed that. Oh, no, we're the freest nation in the world. Well, you could be freer than other people and still be enslaved, right? So, I saw the writing on the wall. You saw it. Coach saw it. Judge Roy Moore, Alan Keyes. We all saw it. Because most of us are real good students of history, and we understand that history is just cyclical. It says in Ecclesiastes 1:9-11 that there's nothing new under the sun. Everything just keeps going over and over and over again. But because we do not learn the mistakes from the past, then we make them again. And that's those of us who had the discernment to understand where we were trending tried to sound the alarm. And I think God's got you in place, me, Dave, all of us in place. We've been building this for years. Now we can be that voice of reason.
Amen. And Coach Dave and I and a gentleman named Mark Harrington formed an organization 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, Minutemen United. And our goal was to create an environment where Christian thoughts, ideals, and leaders could get traction in the marketplace of ideas. We thought to do that through the church. I mean, some people will think to do it through a party, Republican Party. We thought to do it through the church because the pastors, the bully pulpit, the pastors had the pulpit. All they needed to do was instruct their congregation to be salt and light in the world. You don't have to look for issues. You didn't then, you don't now. The issues were out there. And I agree with you, John. What you're saying is what I've been saying for a long time, is that we are an amoral society. And to expect bad men to do good things, well, we see how that's turned out, haven't we? And go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. And I was I'm on the executive committee of a team called Defend Our Union. They're out of Florida. I put some stuff over in the notes that you can kind of look at and sign up. But I was talking to the guy who started it last night, and I said, when I wrote my book in 2003 to 2006 and started promoting it, I got quite a few speaking engagement. The problem was I was too religious for the Tea Party. You're talking about the Bible and Jesus and, the whole theocracy and this whole thing. And then I was too political for the church. Oh, no, we don't get involved in politics. We just sit here and preach the gospel. That's all we do. So, most of us were right there in no man's land. Well, now the two sides are starting to understand the reality of what our founding fathers understood. You got to bring those two sides together. Even if I talk to the Second Amendment, I said, you realize your only defense from the government taking your firearms is the fact that your rights have been given by God and they're inalienable. And it's like the light comes on. It's like, because now they see, and when the federal government and your state all teams up against you, you may not be religious at all, but they're going to come take your guns unless you can fall back on the fact that, there is a creator. He gave you your rights and government has no authority to take those from you. And now the churches experience the same thing. They thought they could just sit in the four walls of the church and preach their gospel. Now pastors are getting arrested. Churches are being closed, and their apathy for the political system. The Bible says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan. Well, guess what? Who are the righteous? If we can only be righteous through the blood of Jesus Christ, then God intended for the righteous to rule so that the people would rejoice, right? If we withdraw from that political system, you're going to get godless heathen in there that just want to enslave everybody, and the people are going to mourn. Well, guess where we're at in America today?
Mm-hmm. Godless leaders that we elect, that we chose. Well, maybe we chose them and maybe we didn't, but it doesn't make any difference. It's what we do with what we have right now. And I push the local level, because you can go to Washington, D.C. and you can take 1 million people there. You can take 5 million people. You can take 10 million people there. I don't care. All the politicians want, all they're looking for, and all they're looking forward to is when you leave. Then they can go back to making sausage. And that's exactly what they do. We need steak. And then they serve us up, they bring the plate and it's sausage, and you go, well, wait a minute, I didn't order that. And they go, well, that's all we got. That's all we got. And the sausage is the quality of the sausage it's been going downhill.
Now they're offering synthetic meat.
Yeah, that's just about to say that. If you can get it at all, by the way, if you can get it at all. And one thing as Christians, we've had Neil Mammon on our show a couple of times, and he wrote a book, Jesus Was Involved in Politics. Let me stop right there, okay? Politics is like oxygen. You are going to inhale it. You are going to experience it. Now, you can experience it on your terms, or you can experience it on somebody else's terms, but you are not going to be able to escape it. It is around you. It's in you. And there's no way you're going to avoid it. And as my humble opinion, if you're a pastor and you consider yourself a quote unquote church leader, you need to advise your congregation that this is how the world is run, instead of hiding behind a mask. Think about that. Or don't have church because the government says you can't have church today. No king but King Jesus, right?
Right.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break, John. When we come back, I want you to tell about what you're doing right now and how we can possibly help you. So hang in there. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
We're speaking with an activist he's also an author. I don't know how you have time, John. Dr. John, to Dr. D. We'll call you Dr. D. I don't know how you have time to write books. I mean, I've had a book that I need to be writing for 3 or 4 years now. Don't beat me, Mr. Anderson. You've already done that, and I just can't get time to get it. Now, part of my reason is when I see something that needs to be done, I jump into it and I start doing it, and then that leads to something else, and then that leads to something else, and then when I come home, I look at what I've started on my book, and I'm going, oh. Yeah, I need to do that too. So maybe educate me on that. But before you do that, talk to the folks about who you are, what you're doing, and how we can help you, brother.
All right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I started this I'll just give you a brief history of my testimony. I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. Went in the Air Force 6 days after I graduated high school, spent 8 years in there, got out at 24. I wasn't a Christian, was full-blown alcoholic, got saved. Fortunately, my brother got saved while I was gone. So I got saved within the year of getting out of the Air Force. I was in Bible college almost immediately, in seminary. And then I spent 15 years in seminary, getting my master's in theology, my doctorate in Christian education. Well, I never, even when I joined the military, I had never once read the Constitution. I wasn't required to read it in the Air Force. Wasn't required to read it in high school, which is one of the projects that we're working on here. But once I started going back and reading, and me and Coach stood with Judge Roy Moore in 2003 down there when they were removing his 10 Commandments. And I went back and I just started reading all of the founding fathers' documents. And the thing that I realized was, 1774, these guys were quoting right from the Bible. I mean, our website, one of our websites is Isaiah3322project.com. And on it, I've got a University of Houston study where they studied all the founding fathers' documents for 10 years. And they realized that 34% of the founding fathers' quotes either came directly or indirectly from the Bible. Well, that has been absolutely removed from everything in our public education. So the Isaiah3322project.com, that project is going to be really a 4-year college curriculum that starts off with that first book, The Foundations of American Law and Government. And we're going to actually take it back to Genesis. My son goes to a Christian school here that our church has. And it's pretty good. It's pretty successful. But I got his history book, 13-year-old. I said, bring your history book home. And they start America at the settlements, which is typical. But our founding fathers didn't start there. They started at the creation, right? For we have been endowed by our creator with certain unalienable rights. So why are we starting American history at the settlements? Yeah, granted, that's when they first came here, but what they believed and why they came here can be traced clear back to creation. So that's one of the things that we would ask your people to support. You can go to that website and donate and help us get that off and running. You ask how I do this stuff. Well, I quit my job last 4th of July. I didn't quit it. They told me I couldn't come in without a mask, and I told them I wasn't wearing a mask. So I haven't been to work since the 4th of July. So now I have time to write books and do videos and all the stuff that you're talking about here. But yeah, we're just trying to raise the support. We put together a team of 12 theologians and scholars who are all going to be contributing to this, including Alan Keyes and many others, Bill Federer, a lot of people that you would know are going to be a part of this project. But we need to re-educate. That's where it starts. We need to re-educate the American people and especially the American youth, because the left has taken over everything. The government, the media, education, both lower and higher education. If the church doesn't raise up, nobody's going to be left to save this country.
Amen. But you're discounting one other item there, and that's the family, John. We can have that discussion at another time. But as goes the family, so goes the church, in my humble opinion. And I hear I want to run through something here to kind of accentuate. Before I do that, is there a main website that folks can go to that you'd recommend that they can get most of this information from?
What I'm talking about right now is Isaiah3322project.com. That's just for that. And then I've got several books that you could put in, Appealing to Heaven, which is the website is appealingtoheaven.org. That's just for my book. You can go to Amazon and get my other book, which is Fighting the Next American Revolution. That's the one I was warning people about. But no, I want to just comment on what you said about the family, because that's exactly what our first book is talking about. The perfect government that God set up back in what we call the Hebrew Republic. Israel wasn't a theocracy; it was a republic, right? God was their king, He was their lawgiver, and all they had was a bunch of judges to keep from killing each other. Well, the basic building block of that Hebrew Republic was families of 10.
Yep.
And it was the family that was the foundation for the Hebrew Republic. So you're absolutely right that is the foundation. And that's what we need to get back to, because it was a bottom-up, love-based government rather than a top-down, fear-based government. And that's what happens when you kick God out. The bottom, grassroots-based, love-based government, where we all love one another and love God, is replaced by a top-down, fear-based government. And that was the perfect system of government. And our founding fathers tried to recreate that. And that's why He told them, when they asked for a king, He said, okay, that's fine. He said, but He gave them a bunch of warnings. Well, what was the very last warning? He said, and you will become their slaves. That's exactly what happens anytime that you put man to rule over man. Eventually use the power that they have of that office to enslave you. Well, guess where we're at with face masks and vaccinations, and pretty much the government can tell you to do whatever they want you to do, and they expect you to obey. Now, we don't have to. We understand that as Christians. You can take that from Genesis to Revelation. You don't have to obey the government. Matter of fact, Hebrews chapter 11 teaches a whole bunch of people who didn't obey the government, and they're memorialized in the Hall of Fame of Faith. So
Nepotism. I'll talk about that a little bit, but that basically is that 10 is talking about nepotism. My body, my choice. How about my family, my choice? Where fathers can't make choices for their families.
Yeah, well, my family, my body, my choice only applies when you want to do something evil, like kill a baby in the womb. If you say I don't want to wear a mask, I don't want to get a vaccine. Well, my body, my choice. This is what I've told people, especially on the Christian right. I said, you know what? Everything that the left has done for the last 60 years in this country, all we got to do is just do the same thing. You know, the Supreme Court ruling on Roe v. Wade was basically the ruling that said that the government has no authority to intervene in the medical relationship between the doctor and the woman. That's how they legitimized abortion. You know, a government official's not a doctor, therefore a government official or a lawmaker can't tell a woman that she can murder her baby. It's between the doctor and it's between the woman. Well, why does that not apply to a vaccine? Why does not apply to a face mask? See, they only use these rules when it benefits them. And all we got to do is, that's what I tell people all the time, my body, my choice, right? If a woman can murder a baby in her womb and it's not the government's right to say anything about it, then why can I not go without a face mask or refuse a vaccine? So we just need to have the courage to stand up and use those same arguments they used against them.
And you know what? We can, and your local city governments can too. Don't let them tell you, well, the state has to do this or the federal government has to do this. If the federal government does something that's unconstitutional, do we just look the other way? I mean, okay, well, gee, sorry about that. And if the state government goes, well, yeah, we can't do anything about that, or they pass a law that ignores the Constitution, your freedoms and liberties, then, well, you just look the other way, right? No. City councilmen pledge allegiance to the U.S. Constitution. And if your federal government or your state government abridges that Constitution, then it's their duty to intercede on we the people behalf. But they don't know that. They need to be educated to that. And then public pressure needs to be applied. And that's what we haven't done in the past. We've just kind of, oh, well, you know, it's the government. You can't fight City Hall. Yes, you have to. You have to. And you can't accept that you can't fight them. If you accept and if you accept that, well, the pendulum's going to go this way and the pendulum is going to go back, good luck. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the government pendulum swings back and forth, but the individual pendulum doesn't, because that's what I tell people. You got to draw two lines in the sand. One's on God's law, and the other's on the Constitution, and refuse to back off either of those. Because you got to remember, we're the ones that created the Constitution. Right? We, the people, created the government. All right. The government was not created to rule over the people. When you're elected into a place of government in America, you are not being elevated to a leader or to a ruler. You are being demoted into a public service. You work for us. So when people say, why aren't you wearing your mask? I say, why would I wear a mask? Well, because of COVID. It says right on the side of the box, this thing doesn't prevent COVID. Oh, well, the governor said, I don't work for the governor. The governor works for me. You're obviously ignorant of the system of government that you live under. That's why the Declaration of Independence says that they govern at the consent of the governed. I have not consented to wearing this mask. And since he has no authority over me, he cannot give me a mandate. It's just like if there was an Air Force base right outside here and that general gave an order, that only applies to the people on the base. It does not apply to the people off of the base. It doesn't apply to civilians. An executive order, whether presidential or from a governor, only applies to the people that work for him. It does not apply to citizens. If he wants there to be a law, he needs to petition the legislature and say, pass a law making them wear masks. Anything else is unconstitutional. And I coach flag football here. And somebody called the health department on us during that whole scamdemic and said, health department said, you guys aren't wearing masks and social distancing, they're going to shut you down. And I told the guy that runs the thing, I said, they have no authority to shut us down. I said, it's a paper tiger. All it is a veiled threat that has no power. It has no authority behind it. 2 weeks later, they called again. Oh, they said they're going to shut us down. We just ignored them. They never shut us down. That's what you have to understand. You have to understand your rights as an individual. It's called predetermination. I know what God has given me, and you, I don't care who it is, cannot tell me what I can and cannot do.
Trust but verify. I think a famous president said that one time. And that's what we need to do. We need to do more verifications and stop making assumptions on things, folks. The family, the family gave birth to the state. The state gave birth to the federal government. Think in terms of a vertical relationship here, folks. You, individual in the family, your brothers and sisters, your mother and father, become a community. That community becomes a state, and then that state is part. You gave birth to that, and you need to recognize that. And the children shouldn't be telling the parents what to do, but we've got it bass backwards. That's exactly what's happening, and we've got the tail wagging the dog. It's just absolutely insane what we've done. I'll let you comment here in a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and after we take the break, we talked about how amoral society we are. I'm going to read some headlines. And one of these headlines is false. I'm sorry, one of these headlines is true. The others are false. And when you hear them, you're going to have a difficult time figuring out which one is true and which one is false. This is BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call with our special guest, Dr. John Diamond.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
So I called my good friend John Diamond up at the last hour on Friday and said, "Hey, John, help. I just lost a guest on purpose. Please help us out." And God bless him, he did. Headlines.
You picked a good one.
Yep. Yeah, of course I did. Study finds moving up election would instantly end pandemic. These are headlines. University hires Hunter Biden to guest teach a class on fake news for students interested in media polarization. San Francisco Giants hire Kaepernick as head kneeling coach. Powerful LeBron James pulls over to lecture homeless man on his white privilege. Nation finally remembers just 2 years ago when everyone said gay marriage wouldn't affect Christians. Undercover videos exposing animal cruelty still okay, California AG clarifies. Having stolen everything from your great-grandchildren, Democrats move on to your great-great-grandchildren. Civil War soldiers glad they didn't live long enough to experience horrors of the January 6th Capitol riot. One of those is true that I just read to you, but you don't really know, do you? Because all but one of these headlines is from the Babylon Bee. The one that is true is the university hires Hunter Biden to guest teach a class on fake news. Tulane University. What in God's name are we doing? The floor is yours, sir.
Oh, no.
Crazy or what? Are we crazy or what?
Well, that's a great segue to something else that we're doing. I'm part of what's called the Content 2021 Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we launched a news and journalism conference, and we're going to have another one down there in Dallas, Fort Worth in Texas. We're hoping you're going to be a part of it. Coach Dave was already a part of it. Bradley Dean, Mike Spalding, a lot of the people that run in our circles, because we need to raise up alternative journalism. We need people like you doing what they're doing. I mean, people like me are the talking heads. I'll jump on any show anywhere. You know, you're the guys you guys are the new CNN, the new Fox, the new people that are just going to be the influencers by bringing authors and speakers and everything else on. So, I mean, you have to understand the body of Christ concept. Not everybody has the gift of gab that I have or that you have. Everybody has a function, right? So just plug yourself in. I mean, sitting there doing what you two are doing is probably just as important, if not, than half of the functions in the church. Because at least you're propagating truth while they're hiding it all within the four walls of the church. So, yeah, the News and Journalism Conference, I sent you a video, and I don't expect you to play it. It's like 9 minutes long, but it was a rousing success, and we're hoping that it's even going to grow to even a bigger success this year. We're hoping to get some pretty big names in there. Hopefully we could get in like Alan Keyes or General Flynn or some of these others to be like keynote speakers. And then maybe this thing, we were already almost busting at the seams last time. We may actually have to go out and get like a Holiday Inn grand ballroom or something if we could get some of these other speakers. But when I attended that conference down in Tulsa last month that had Mike Lindell, General Flynn, Linwood, I mean, a whole bunch of people down there, General Flynn came into the media room, and I was working in the media room with Alan Keyes. We were interviewing all these big name people, and General Flynn came in and had like a White House press briefing. And right before he got interviewed, he said, "Shut your cameras off a minute." And he said this, he said, "You guys are the most important people in this country." He said, "You better find a way to work together." And then he said, "Turn your cameras back on." So that is what you're doing, what I'm doing, what we're doing. We are the most important people in this country because we are tasked with truth. All right. Not just biblical truth, right? Because biblical truth just gives us and God's law just gives us the standard by which to stand by, because the enemy's going to come in. Here's what I told a pastor wife the other day. I said, "You know, America just went through a Nebuchadnezzar test and failed." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "What was the Nebuchadnezzar test?" I said, "What happened? The governor, the king, passed a law saying break the first and second commandment. And what happened? The Hebrew men said, absolutely not." I said, "Your governor, your Nebuchadnezzar, just passed a law or just issued mandates all summer telling you to break one of God's commandments, and the church just fell in line with it because they feared man more than God." And she said, "Which commandment?" I said, "The fourth." And she said, "Well, that's about keeping the Sabbath." I said, "No, the first half says this: man shall work 6 days. That's a commandment. It's not a suggestion. It's not a good advice. Man shall work 6 days and shall rest on the seventh. Therefore, man has no authority to tell you not to work 6 days. No authority to tell you to shut your churches down. And if the church had the faith of Hebrews chapter 11, just like the Hebrew midwives and Shadrach and Daniel and the apostles and Mordecai, if we had the faith that's kind of memorialized in Hebrews chapter 11, none of this stuff would have happened in America. But it just shows that the Christian church is more interested in obeying the commands of Caesar than they are of God. One, because they're ignorant of the law and they're ignorant of the commandments. Some of them came around a little slow. Some of them are still shut down. And in my opinion, it's a blessing. Most of those churches should never have been open anyway. Most of those are apostate. And I'm quite happy.
Edit that out, Mr. Anderson. Edit that out because it won't please people. I'm just kidding, John. Go ahead.
Hey, that's what I said. I don't care. I mean, you look at the 7 churches in Revelation. There was only a couple of them that actually got a thumbs up. The rest of them got some thumbs down. God says, "You better repent, or I'm going to take your candlestick out of there." Well, guess what? God's spirit's been removed from a whole bunch of churches in this country for a long time. They've just been going through the motions. I call them zombie churches, the living dead. They're walking and they have no life. Right? They have no spirit within them. And this just exposed the true church and the false church. And it's going to get more detailed as we go on.
Amen. Amen. I often say, first of all, you struck the unity. You mentioned that unity word. And it's so, I'm all about unity, Dr. John. I'm all about unity, but as long as it's under my purview. Okay. As long as it's all about the natural family, then I'm okay. But if it's not all about the natural family and you guys don't fall in line with that, I don't think I can help you out. And here's how this can work. Let's just say that you have an organization and you want people to sign up, or you want to be able to say that you've got 10,000 people in the organization, or 100,000 or 1 million people in the organization. And then there's another organization out there that's doing the same thing. 1 million people or 2 million people. Now, what you should do as your organization is encourage other people, because you know this other organization, you know they're doing good things. They're not doing exactly the way you want to, but you know they're doing good things, and you know they'll eventually help you with what you're doing. You want to encourage people to sign up for them as well. And what happens is, let's say that your organization now has 2 million people that have signed our pledge, and the other organization has 5 million people that have acknowledged that they agree with what's going on. When you talk to people out there with your organization, the 2 million organization, you're going to catch some attention because you're 2 million. But if that other organization talks to that same individual about the same subject matter, guess what? You now become 7 million, although it may be 5 million, because the 2 million on one, but just maybe the same as the 2 million on the other. But who you're talking to don't know that. They just know the numbers. So you never know when you help somebody else that you're eventually helping yourself. And we need to recognize that. I don't totally agree with what you're doing or how you're doing it, but I think you're definitely operating under God's purview, if you will. And I'm going to support you. I'm not going to be out in front of the abortion clinic, or I'm not going to be out in front of the school. It doesn't make any difference. I'm going to acknowledge that I like what you guys are doing. And we need to do that, as versus doing what BJ does so well, find something wrong with what's going on in that organization and pick them and then don't work with them. That's the worst thing we can do as Christians. And we've been doing it for so long. And I think this COVID, the president of the United States, the government, God is, number one, he's helping us to recognize what we're doing. It's real clear where people stand right now. And also he's forcing us to actually work together. You got 5 minutes. What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right. That's what I've found out for years. I would send my book to some big organization. I'm not going to name any who they are. And, they would be like, oh, hey, we appreciate what you're doing, but we really can't help you out. Then 5 minutes later, I get an email talking about how they want me to send them money. I'm like, oh, so you don't want to help me, but you want me to help you. So one of the things that is happening, and these are only the people that I'm linking arms with, are the people that are just going to, we're a body. We need each other. And here's what God showed me a couple years ago. So this is where I've changed the model really of ministry. Is God said that everybody wants to be Moses. Nobody wants to be Aaron and Hur. Now you remember Aaron and Hur were sitting right there, and when they were lifting up Moses's hands, they were getting victory over the enemy. And when his hands went down, they were not. And I told my church, and I said, you know what? From now on, we're going to be Aaron and Hur. I said, we're not going to try to be Moses or try to, selfish ambition is actually a work of the flesh. Google selfish ambition in the New Testament, see what it says. This is what a lot of these ministries are, very selfish. It's all about them, promoting their leader. They want to be remembered in history as some special guy when it's the opposite of Christianity. Christianity said, you want to be great, be servants of all. And I said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to serve. We're going to give. Our ministry gives to other ministries. How often do you see ministries doing that? All they got their hand out and they don't want to give or help anybody else. So we give to a lot of different ministries that are doing, we give to Coach, Bradley Dean, and Mike Spall. Anybody that's out there in the fight, we're out there helping them now. So start praying about that. That's what I would ask you if you're listening to this, right? You know what? I want to be a servant. I'm not worried about what my influence is going to be or how I'm remembered in history. Just point me towards a person, an organization that I can help, that I can support. Even, the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. Jesus said, when you do that, then that's humility. God says, then I will exalt you. If you humble yourselves before the mighty hand of God, you will be exalted in due time. Don't look for the exalting, just look to serve. That's what you need to do. Serve and give, serve and give, serve and give, and you'll be blessed.
If my people who are called by my name, and the first order is humble. Toughest thing to do, humble. Because, hey, I know I'm right. And I know you're a little off. I'll work with you as long as you'll work for me. That's not unity, folks. We need to learn to work together. John, I could talk to you for hours, and I love the conversations we have. I appreciate you helping us out this morning. I really do. You've been a blessing as usual. One more plug. Give. I don't care whether it's Isaiah. Plug one website that you got, and then we're going to have to kick you off the air.
Hey, yeah, Isaiah3322project.com. Go there, watch my little 3-minute interview with Alan Keyes, read about the University of Houston study, and then get behind us. I mean, just donate. I don't care if it's $5. I don't care if it's $10. You know, there are people out there that can do a whole lot more. But if everybody just gave a little bit, I mean, we can get this thing up and running. So bless you. Appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate those who would pray and give to our outreach.
All right, sir. For a $25,000 fee, you can use this video. Yeah, just kidding, John. God bless you, brother. God
bless you, man. Thank you.
Now he is something else. He is absolutely something else. When I ran into him, it's been probably 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to give the real headlines, and we're going to talk to you about why we're going to be leaving early today.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Do Radio. That's what we are. We're Do Radio. And we're leading by example. Today, we're going to be talking to the folks in the city of Delaware, and we're going to be looking for patriots. We're going to be looking for folks that appreciate the freedoms and liberties that they have, but recognize that there is an issue out there. Let me give you, Aaron is listening this morning. God bless you, Aaron. Thank you very much. Aaron said, hello and good morning to everybody. So I responded, good morning, Aaron. I responded, good morning, Aaron. Periscope responds back, whoops, Periscope didn't get your comment. It was probably filtered. Periscope filters anything that looks like spam.
Everything. Periscope has been a problem.
Try another.
It's connected with Twitter, if that explains anything to you.
Yep. And folks, we don't want to lose this nation. This, I believe, is the greatest nation that ever existed. Well, I believe that. I've lived this. I haven't lived in past times, but the greatest nation that has ever existed, with more freedoms and liberties than any other nations, that's designed that way. And I'm sorry. The Bible isn't the Constitution. I'm sorry, it isn't. But then again, which Bible would you choose? Could you get the church to agree on one Bible? I'm waiting. Let's see. No, absolutely not. You wouldn't even get them to be able to agree on the name of the nation. United Churches of America? United Churches of God, or is that Yahweh? God is showing us through pain. That's how I best learned. And I think that's how we're going to have to best learn as a nation, through pain. We've been sticking our thumb in his eye, poking him in the nose, ignoring him, calling him names, abusing our freedoms and liberties that come from him. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there you find liberty. Well, guess what? We've invited the Lord out, haven't we? Boom, gone. Look at us. We fail to recognize the truth. We fail to recognize the difference between right and wrong. We're afraid to recognize the difference between right and wrong because it might offend somebody. Huh? How are we going to go to that family meeting if you're going to tell the truth? Wow, you've got to stop that.
Here's a little wisdom from an 8-year-old.
And I don't think barely anybody likes masks in schools. Their children are suffocating. You don't know what it feels like, and it's nonsense. Seriously. Like, why would you do that? Why in the world would you do that? And God created us so we can be free people. And we're not being free here or at public schools. Okay? So I would take your masks off if I were you. And I'm not wearing a mask right now, and I never will as much as I can. And George Washington made America so we could be free citizens of the United States of America. And the Statue of Liberty is for liberty and freedom, and we're not free. So maybe you just don't believe in George Washington or God, or like the boss of you or someone is controlling you. Stand up and take these masks off these children. Don't be afraid. And we voted you to be the school board members we wanted you to be. Okay, so please make the schools better, not worse.
You know, when the
I think that she talks to her parents. I'm just guessing. I'm thinking that she's talking to her parents, because some of that I think she's overheard and repeating, and I don't think she got that in a government-run school. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I read some foolish headlines on the first. By the way, the show's going to be ending at the bottom of the hour, because we're going to head out of here and we're going to do some work for righteousness and for America's freedom.
We're going to show our support for that 8-year-old.
Yep. Exactly. Here's some headlines. This judge sides with Biden, rules that Christian college must open women's bedrooms and showers to biological males. Judge Roseanne Ketchmark issued a ruling Wednesday denying the College of the Ozarks a temporary restraining order and a preliminary injunction, which would have provided temporary protection for the school while its federal court case is pending. What do you do here? Something. If the judge says it, then that's it. That's right. And if the judge disagrees with the Constitution or with God's law, well, what are we going to do? It's government. How bad does it have to get? That's all. Just answer that question. How bad does it have to get? But I don't know what the right thing to do is. You know what? Satan's the author of confusion. So who are you listening to? And you won't know whether it's right or wrong until you do it. Now, you know the difference between right and wrong. You know that if it's wrong, it's wrong. But if you're confused, and especially about doing something, it's like on a football field. You can call play. You don't know whether it's going to work or not. But you got to call it and you got to run it, don't you? To find out whether it's going to work or not. And by the way, there's more than one play on a football field. Take a look at what other people are doing. Listen to what other people are doing. You know the difference between right and wrong. You know what's going on in America today is WRONGE. ESPN Stephen A. Smith slams Tim Tebow's return to the NFL as an example of white privilege. It's kind of like a magic word. Discrimination, white privilege. That's supposed to change you. It's supposed to make your knees knock. That'd upset you. They're accusing you of something that you don't do. Or are they accusing you of something you do? Nah. Systemic racism does not exist in America. Okay, as a rule. Are there exceptions to the rule? Oh, for heaven's sakes, yes. On both sides of the equation, by the way. Both sides. This isn't a one-way street. Are you ready for everything shortage? Talked to a cattle rancher this week. There are, I think, 4 main suppliers of beef in the USA. And they're squeezing out the little guy. Like the mom and pop stores, like the A&P stores. Is that what you want? What's going to happen? You're going to have a capitalistic oligarchy, which you have basically with Costco, Sam's Club, the news media. It is an oligarchy. Whether it be a king or an oligarchy, it's limited choice on your part. There's things that are happening, money that's being spent, other things that what's his name? I don't even want to repeat the name, but I think he's supposed to be the leader of our country. You can put whatever title you want to that, is doing. Here's 2 headlines, 1 item. Arizona audit terrifies Democrats and GOP establishment. An election audit in New Hampshire may be the pebble that diverts the stream. Folks, I'm sorry, but they have nothing to fear from we the people at the moment, because we the people are still asleep. We the people are still in fear. We the people are still in confusion, in hate, and in envy. We need to get out of that. Joe Biden is president, and we have to prove that he's a fraud. That's from the article. Better get to know your local sheriff, folks, and get ready to dig in, because the communists are coming. Remember, the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming. Well, nowadays, it's the communists are coming. The communists are coming, and from other countries, most likely from China, where we're getting most of our medications and most of our plumbing. Oh, man, look what we've done to ourselves. And folks, the Dems are not scared, nor are they worried. What they are is in control of the information, of our money, of our health care, of our future.
Our children.
Mm-hmm. And if you think that they're scared and that they're going to give all this up, let me know when you see them winged frogs a-flying. Then I'll believe you. So let's make the winged frogs fly, folks. If you're doing something, thank you very, very much. We want to hear about you. We want to hear about you like the lady from Florida, Mrs. Peterson. We want to hear about you. We want to tell your story on the air because it's going to encourage other people. Mr. Anderson and I were at a school this week. Close to 200 people there, parents, families, intending to take back their schools. That's what's going to have to happen. We can't do this sitting on the couch, munching on potato chips, and drinking our favorite adult beverage, guys, and sending the women out to do the job, guys. As goes the family, so goes the nation. That family has to be led by the father. Children learn authority, and they learn morals in the home. If there's no father leading that home, they're going to look elsewhere for authority. Single mothers notwithstanding, it doesn't make any difference. They're going to look for that male leadership. It's ingrained in them. It's in their application. And no matter how much you want to stop it, you can't. You don't believe me? Go to prison systems. Talk to the prisoners. Male prisoners or female prisoners. I don't care. Talk to them. Talk about their families. Talk about the leadership or the lack of leadership in the family. That's why gangs are so big. They're looking for what? Leaders, right? And these aren't, that I know of, there aren't too many female gangs out there. Huh? Really? Yeah. Yeah. They all seem to be male. Huh. Imagine that. How did that happen? Use your head, please. You have it. It's right in front of you. You see it every day in nature. What did folks do before the Bible? How did they know the difference between right and wrong? Nature confirms the Bible. Maybe God had the Bible created because we just weren't paying attention to nature. So he created the Bible, but then again, we have to have nature to prove that the Bible's right? So we have natural occurrences, bad and good, from our natural exercises.
Since there's a change in game plan, I'm going to 2-minute warning.
Okay.
In other news, while delivering the National Prayer Declaration, the father of a crack addict with underground business dealings in Ukraine and China failed to mention the word God. By comparison, during the National Prayer Declaration last year, Trump mentioned God 8 times. In 2016, Obama mentioned God twice. And in 2008, George W. Bush mentioned God 4 times. Some speculate Biden's cognitive decline is why he didn't mention God when speaking about prayer. That's a scary scenario. An even scarier scenario that some speculate about is that Biden is actively helping usher in communism to the US, given that corrupt leaders have to destroy their population's relationship with God before communism can fully take hold. While others believe all that is blown out of proportion, and the simple explanation for Biden not mentioning God is because the powers that run Biden are the opposite of God. In other news that connects with why Biden failed to mention God, Space Force Commander Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lomier was fired for warning service members about Marxism and critical race theory in the military. Marxism is a set of philosophies put forth by Karl Marx that are used by communists to usher in communism. Critical race theory is a known component of Marxism used to create racial divide while purporting to be about racial unity, as a population that is divided rather than united is easier to control. And for his warning, Lomier was relieved of his command, which is also part of Marxism, silencing anyone who speaks out against it. Marxism also uses a relentless stream of propaganda that comes from trusted figures. The propaganda manipulates you by instilling you with fear so you're more controllable. As the figureheads harm you, they reassure you they're protecting you. And in other news,
I just sent another message and got another back from Periscope. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Luann, I'm sorry you're having problems. I don't know what the problem is. Well, exactly what it is. I know how we experience it. This is, I appreciate, I guess I want to, go ahead.
Are we having problem with sound or what?
I don't know.
Anything?
Luann said she had a problem getting in. I don't know what that was. I want you to do something. There was a discussion the other day about prayer. And prayer only is versus works only. And my best friend just said, well, it's kind of like a recipe. Prayer is in there and works is in there, among other things. Now, who puts the quantity in and how they do it, that's kind of up to God. And I don't know whether somebody can just pray. I have no idea. I may make assumptions because I like to work a lot that they could be out doing things. But here's what you can do. Here's something else that needs to be there. That's encouragement. You have no idea how encouraging it is to hear other folks say, you go, good job, thanks for showing up. Swimming upstream is never easy. And yeah, you do develop muscles, but you're still sensitive. You're still human. You still have a heart. Wherever you can encourage strangers, friends, family. Never hesitate to encourage somebody to do the right thing. Never hesitate. You have no idea how close that individual is to just giving up and how important you're just patting them on the back and saying thank you can mean to them. Encouragement could be financial support. I'm not asking for it. I'm just saying that could be encouragement. Send your financial support to John.
I was about to say that.
I'm always ahead of you, Mr. Anderson. Always ahead of you. Okay, back to our headlines. We need to take a quick break and then
No.
Okay.
Well, when are we shutting down?
In about 10 minutes.
Okay.
At the
Get
bottom
your,
of the
get your headlines done.
Yeah.
I'll quit interrupting you if I can.
I mentioned getting to know your local sheriff because they are the highest that we know of, the highest law official in the land. Somebody will say maybe there's somebody else in there. Maybe, I don't know. But for now, let's just say that the sheriff is. Don't depend on Republicans. Don't depend on Democrats. Don't depend on anybody else if you're not doing anything. That could be prayer. But do something, even if it's wrong, right? Even if you're not sure whether it's right. You know, Frosty Woolridge, I've read him for a long, long time. Good man. Wrote an article. The headline is this: we're riding on the USS Titanic. Few people understand our dilemma. We believe that iceberg can be avoided from sinking us. Oregon County vote to succeed to Idaho. That's a headline. And I know there's counties that are thinking about doing that. That's not going to happen. So don't pin all your hopes on that. U.S. seeks to have cryptocurrency transfers above 10K. U.S. seeks to have cryptocurrency transfers above $10,000 reported to the IRS Treasury. There's all kinds of messages there, folks. All kinds of messages. Chip shortage. Where do we get the chips from? Is that China, Mr. Anderson?
A lot of them, yes.
Mm-hmm. Most of them. Enters danger zone as lead times reach new record. There's chips in everything.
That's hindering the car manufacturing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the car industry is going haywire right now because of the chip shortage.
Yep. Is there hope? I pray so. I pray so. I read an article, don't know what the exact headline was, but the governor for the state of Texas is signed some sort of a bill that they're hoping will end abortion in Texas. Will it be tested? Oh my goodness. You talk about billions in dollars. Of course it will be. And personal, my body, my choice. What about that? Isn't this America? Isn't this the land of the home? The home of the brave. Oh, well, land of the free, the home of the brave. Isn't that where we're at? So I should have the ability to do anything that I want to do with my body, unless it comes to COVID. By the way, when it comes to COVID and pandemics, do you remember when there were the countdown for the pandemic? You remember that? The count. Well, we're getting closer. Do you understand what you're being manipulated? You were manipulated then. You're being manipulated now. Okay, now we can officially say it's a pandemic. Okay. Start declaring emergencies, et cetera. Yeah, our founding fathers died for the freedoms and liberties that we have today. And to give those up this easily, I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. Just trust me. I don't remember stepping out of the house and stepping over bodies on my way to the local stores. I don't remember that. I don't remember people dropping like flies in the street. I don't remember seeing that. There was a time during the heavy portions of the emergency, I didn't know anybody that knew anybody that had COVID. And this was at the height of the quote unquote pandemic. Folks, you're smarter than that. I know you're smarter than that. Even though you've been public indoctrinated for 12 years in schools, you still have the capability to learn, and you still have the capability for wisdom. But nothing's going to happen until you do. This isn't just about voting or voting for a party. Look where that's gotten us. We had the we had the Republican Party. We had the president. We had the U.S. Senate. and we had Congress. We didn't end abortion. What good did we do to the country? Anything that they might have done has already been undone. Everything that Donald Trump did is being undone. And worse. You know the difference between right and wrong. I know you do. I know you do. You sense what's going on here is wrong. And please, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get worser and worser as long as you do nothing. This is an opportunity to recognize who we are and what we can do. And that's the important part. We really do have the capability of making a difference. But making is a verb. And it's an action item. And we need to do that. We need to take action. Are you going to get resistance? Oh, my goodness, yeah. Are there going to be issues? Yes. But they'll make a better person out of you if you don't hide from them. We're going to sign off here. But before we do, I want to encourage all of you that we have hope here. Not just in our fellow man, but obviously in God. And God is forgiving.
Always have hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's by faith we have hope.
Right.
By faith. And it's by faith we please our Lord, our God, our Father in heaven is pleased by our faith. I don't know any other way that pleases God but by our faith. Faith in him, of course.
Aaron, we'll have to talk about that worldwide demonstration for human rights and civil liberties. And you're organizing in states as well. Good. I know you are. Maybe we'll have you back on and get some more detail on that, Aaron.
We'll get her on the show.
Yeah. Aaron's a doer. And I hope, Aaron, I've encouraged you this morning in some way, and anybody else that is listening today.
And doing.
Oh, man.
And if you're doing, share. Join our show.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
There's an invitation.
Lastcallradio.live. Lastcallradio.live. Do radio. And last call. There's no accident in that name. I didn't say last days. I said last call. We can talk about last days at a different time. Hey, God bless all of you. Thank you for listening in today. Mr. Anderson and I are headed off to the city, and we're going to talk to some peoples.
Face-to-face talking.
Yep.
We're talking to peoples now, but we're going to go meet some.
Shut her down, Mr. Anderson.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.